But the one action I would take is get proactive. Start planning out the future. Don't have the future happen to you, happen to your future. The habits and behaviors, it's like brushing your teeth. I've been brushing my teeth with my right hand since I learned how to brush teeth. Someone comes along and says, start brushing your teeth with your left hand. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. I want to revert back to my right hand. But if there's a big enough benefit to doing it, changing my habit and behavior, I'm on board. And sooner or later, I can do it either way, right? But I have to stick with it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rev Rx Podcast, where we discuss how to thrive in faith, family, and health. My name is Chad Potts, and I'm your host. Today's special guest is Connor Tyson. Connor is a financial advisor and has been for over 20 years. He has lots and lots of experience all over the financial industry. But here's what drew me to Connor. Connor ties in whole health to his financial approach. You see, finances affect a large portion of our life. And so what he really teaches and what he really coaches is about financial health. So you're going to love our conversation today. We're going to talk about some basics of financing. We're going to talk about how to think about finances through the holidays, how to plan for the holidays, how to recover from the holidays. And we're just going to talk about all things financial health. Connor is a wealth of information. You're going to learn so much from him. So without further ado, I introduce you to my friend, Connor Tyson. Connor, thanks so much, brother, for joining us on the Rev Rx Podcast. I appreciate what you're doing in the world. I appreciate the coaching that you're providing, and just can't wait to delve into some finance topics today.
Yeah. Chad, thanks for having me on. I know we've been trying to get this together for a while, and we connected right away because one of those pillars that you coach to is finances, right? And I always say, like, they don't teach this stuff in schools, and everybody's trying to build a car and drive it down the highway. You know what I mean? It's rough out there.
It's a really good way to think about it. And you're exactly right. You know, thriving in your finances, financial wellness, there's not a course on that in school.
No, there's a lot of things in schools they don't teach you, like the real life skills that you need. And I personally think it's by design. Like, they don't want, it's kind of like politics. They don't want to have a well-informed, engaged populace. You know? So, that kind of brings me to my story, like how I got into this and all that. So I grew up in a household where my dad was pretty well off, working for a corporation. Then he went independent. And my mother was an innate saver, came from a big Irish immigrant family, you know, like passed me down. She was the second youngest, so she could make $1 out of a quarter. And my dad was basically a spendthrift, right? He could always out-earn his bad mistakes, you know, and I had that mentality too. But
those two tend to marry each other, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. The yin and the yang of everything, right? So basically, at a young age, my dad went independent, and in the 1989 recession, his business went belly up, went bankrupt, right? And there's a lot of finger pointing, yelling, told you so, Joe. I was a young guy, and I'm observing this young kid, and I knew there was something to this money thing. There was a lot of emotional charge around this, right? Fear. So I just took it upon myself to try to learn everything I possibly could about money. I was always curious about it. You name it, I wanted to know about it, like the treasury, interest rates, whatever. I actually went to college, got a degree in finance, and then I started working down Wall Street. I built up a financial planning practice. I was quite successful. But during that journey, I kept bumping into myself. Well, I'll get to that real quick.
Sure.
So I graduated, right? And I got all the knowledge in the world, right? Finance degree. I noticed, right? I looked down, and I had like north of $65,000 of debt. I had student loans, car loan, credit cards. I was like, oh my God, I just became my dad. And it scared the bejesus out of me. I was like, wow, this is not good. So I felt like a fraud inside too. Like, who am I to be giving advice? I can't even manage my own stuff. So I realized it wasn't really about the knowledge so much. It was really the habits and behaviors.
Yeah. Wow.
It wasn't aligning with, like you said, thriving. Right. I was just kind of winging it, living day by day, instant gratification, things of that nature. So I basically started saying yes to things I had to say yes to, no to the things I had to say no to. And within like 15 to 18 months, I was debt-free, and I've been debt-free since, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. And then I got married, and life happens to you fast, right? So married, Then it's like I buy a house. Then it's like, okay, baby number one, baby number two,
Yeah.
2 cars, right? Oil bill, daycare, summer camp. Oh my, woof, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank God I had these habits and behaviors in place, right?
Yeah.
And, otherwise, it would be a lot different. So why I became a financial coach is that the financial industry I came from doesn't really focus on those things,
Yeah.
right? Habits, behaviors, budgeting. Well, I hate the word budget, right? Just telling your money where to go, right? Versus where it went, or a money plan, right? Debt elimination.
Mm-hmm.
These things are non-revenue producing activities, according to the industry itself. So, and then habits and behaviors and lack of knowledge. I used to work with a lot of clients that were very smart in their fields, right? Cardiologists or opticians or whatever. When it came to money, no idea.
Yep.
And it was like, I'm not a numbers person. Heard that a lot. And like, I'm just winging it, they're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I just realized, wow, I had a calling to be of service of others. I was like, how can I be the most service to the most amount of people? And I was like, be a financial coach.
Yeah.
Be a guide. Do not sell anything. Meet people where they're at and help them, because there's people struggling out there,
Yep.
And that's why I became a financial coach. I've been doing it now full time, 3.5 years. Love it. Saved marriages. I've helped people launch businesses, get out of debt.
Wow.
I'm always about like get control, get clarity, and get confidence. That's what I do.
That's big. And I love how you talked about. Just want to hit on this real quick. You talked about you help people with finances.
Yeah.
But indirectly, you help people with their marriages.
Yeah.
You help people with their businesses. And so what we see is that finances is kind of the common thread to a large part of our life, right?
Yeah, it touches a lot of that sleeve of the wheel of life, if you will, touches all the other aspects. It affects your relationships, affects your health, stress, it affects your spirituality. You don't feel good about yourself, right? You're looking at your shoelaces all the time.
Right.
Generosity, giving to others, right? Family, right? This is a generational thing sometimes.
Right.
And like you have the opportunity to change your family tree.
That's so good. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I look at it in the holistic point of view, right? Like how do you define wealth? Right. I've heard many times you don't have your health, you don't have your wealth. Very true. And it's like, okay, great. I could work, but then I don't have any time for my family.
Wow.
Am I really showing up the way I want to? So we define that, and we start with refocus.
Okay.
Right? Refocus. What's important? Why is it important to you? It's not, you were talking about before, it's not like I want to get out of debt. That's not going to do it. It's why is that important to you? What is it preventing you from feeling? What is it preventing you from doing? How long have you felt like this? And then you got to go down a couple layers deep and you get to the root of it. That's where the rubber meets the road, because that's really the reason, your why.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Keep asking why until you get to the root. Until you get to the root problem.
Yeah, because it's habits and behaviors, right? And it's not. The funny thing about being a financial coach, a money coach, is never about the money. Very rarely is it about the money.
Yep.
It's perspective. You believe certain things aren't true. Money mindset. Process. I don't have a process. I'm just kind of winging it. I think I'm doing everything. I'm asking this one, that one, trying to get bits and bats of information. I'm trying to piece it all together like a jigsaw puzzle. And it ain't working out too well. Like the puzzle's not looking like the cover of the box, right? And that it takes a while, and to change habits, as you know, right? It takes motivation. Like I might be rah hiskumba January 1st to go lose 15 pounds. Talk to me March 15th. Are you still going? The people who are still going have a good reason why they're going. And it's not to lose the 15 pounds. It's I don't want to be. I don't want to die of a heart attack like my uncle did. I want to avoid diabetes. I want to have more energy for my kids. I want to feel better about myself. I want to, whatever that is. That's the motivation that pushes you through change.
Yeah. And that's really, really, really important to understand. And one of the things that you prioritize is this term called financial wellness.
Yep.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that, and what does it look like to be financially well?
Yep.
Because it's more than just, I think a lot of times my listeners may be thinking, well, give me more money and I'll be financially well.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case, right?
No, it's not. So I know some pretty wealthy people are pretty miserable.
Yep.
Right. So financial wellness is having a peace of mind, a calm, a confidence about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and driving it.
Yeah.
Right. So you have clarity as to what's important to you, and you're actually accomplishing those things. Like you might be climbing the ladder, but then you realize your ladder's on the wrong wall. Right. So what does financial wellness look like? It's the whole areas, all the areas. Like, yeah, you can get 3 jobs and you can make more money. Is that really going to make you happy? You're staying up at night, stressed out about how you're going to, what is it that needs to have calling your attention? What areas of your life need to improve to be holistically well? And if you have money and the habits and behaviors that align with that, you have the opportunity, freedom and choice to concentrate on those other areas. Like I would love to go take some time off and spend time with my family.
Yeah. I
can't because I'm stuck in this dead end job to pay the bills.
Yep.
Right. Or I would date night or whatever it is. That's what I mean by holistically well, of like financial wellness. This area is no longer causing me stress, turbulence in my life. I'm actually proactive versus reactive.
Yeah. And you're right. A lot of times it's not about the lack or abundance of money.
No, there's definitely there's no lack of abundance of money out there. I'll tell you that much. I think that the government just spent something like $1 trillion. There's a lot of money out there.
And so a lot of times we see it with this scarcity mindset. And that I think impacts us as well.
Yes.
What are some of the common financial problems that you see that people maybe come to you with? You mentioned debt, but what are some? You mentioned also habits and behaviors.
Behaviors. When I mean habits, behaviors, they're reactive versus proactive. They're not driving the car.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like a passenger in the back seat, and they're just getting driven around. They don't know really what's going on. So lack of process is a big one. Communication. If you're married, does the left hand know what the right hand's doing? Is there an essential, right? Are you treating it like a business, right? You're both board members. We want to have a profitable month. Here's the income. Here's the expenses. How do we have a profitable month? What are some of the things we have to forecast for? Like Christmas, we're going to get into this, is December 25th. We know this. Why is it I'm always scrambling right now to make sure I have some money for Christmas?
Right.
If I just put aside $100 a month, if I do my math right, I'll have $1,200 cash to spend and then not be stressed out and having to pay off the credit cards until March. Right. So those different things add up. Perspective, lack of process, communication, fear. Fear is a big one, right? Anxiety around this. Anxiety is like the fear of the unknown, the future. I use a lot of analogies. It's as if you're going into a dark room you've never been in before. You don't know what could be in that room. You're scared to go in there. There could be pointy furniture, Legos on the floor, a scary guy in the corner. Well, how about we just take a flashlight, look around the room, memorize where everything is. Better yet, how about we turn on the lights? Turn on the lights, look at it, and then turn the lights off. It's a new month. You're not going to be as scared to go into that. You're going to know where to go, what to avoid, and how to get across to the other side. Without any injury. That's the idea. And budgeting, is just a tool. If it's as easy as a tool, there's an app for that. It's not.
Right.
And those are the things I commonly see. It has very little to do with money. It's like the debt, more money's going out than coming in. Lack of communication, open communication, honesty, right? Like I have, don't tell my wife, a fantasy football league money account, right? She knows. She has her thing too, right? I'm not hiding money. It's an open thing. My kids know what's going on, right? It's an open communication. And the other thing I see is they want to teach their kids this stuff, but you can't teach your kids things that you can't give somebody you don't have what you don't have.
Well,
You
yeah.
don't have the knowledge. You want to do the right thing, but you can only pass on what you know.
Right.
They want to enforce those things.
So this is going to be releasing about a month before Christmas. And you mentioned that Christmas happens the same time every year.
It does.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It is.
Yet it seems like every year, so many people are unprepared for it. So one of the things you mentioned was setting aside a little bit of money every month. $100 gets you $1,200 come Christmas time. What are some other ways that people can really start to think about planning for the holidays? What are some things you see, maybe some common pitfalls that people fall for come holiday season, and just the best way to navigate the holidays financially?
All right. So, Chad, I'm going to get real with you for a second, right?
Sure.
Refocus. What's important? Why? What are you looking to get out of the holiday season?
Yeah.
What's really, really important? Like, what are your earliest memories as a kid about Christmas? Was it the toy? Or was it spending time with the family? Was it the memories? That's really what sticks with you.
Yep.
When you're our age, right? When you were a kid, you're like, oh, I can't sleep. But the things that really stick with you over that time, those are the things that really matter. So go into it with the reference of what is it that I really want myself and my family and my kids to come out of this holiday season, the reason for the season and all that stuff.
Yeah. That's really, really big because, and I'll just pause you right there for a minute. I wanted to share something that we've been going through in our family. You kind of get caught in this trap, especially when your kids get older and they start sharing stories. Hey, so-and-so got this for Christmas. Why didn't I get this for Christmas? And so you start kind of feeling like there's this comparison, right? And today in our social media world, you see everybody uploading their Christmas morning pictures. Man, look, they got a big bike and all these things. So we feel this need to compete and to keep up, right? And I think that a lot of times leads us to more and more and more spending. But Connor, you're exactly right. What is it that you remember? What are those feelings that we remember about Christmas morning? I mean, there were some toys there, but do you remember what you got when you were 8 years old? Probably not. Do you remember how you felt when you were 8 years old? Yeah, that's what sticks with you. And one of the things we've asked, we started asking some of the grandparents for our kids is, hey, they get toys. Sometimes I think they'd rather play with the box that the toy came in than the toy itself. And in noticing this, one of the things we started asking is, hey, why don't you get them an experience?
Experience. Exactly.
Why don't you get them tickets to this? Or why don't you, and that's really revolutionized the way that we think about gifting now.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, hey, they remember that trip to wherever. They remember the trip to see that show. They still talk about it 6 months later, whereas that toy's probably gone to Goodwill by now.
I went ice fishing with my uncle. That's one of the best memories I ever had.
Yep.
And it was Christmas, and he was like, "This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to the cabin. Just you and me."
Yeah.
Right. And I still remember that to this day. And it was I had the greatest conversations with him. I started feeling like a man. I was in his pickup truck, and that was invaluable, right? And like I couldn't even tell you the gifts. Like I think I remember one gift as a kid, right? It was like the Diamondback BMX bike. What does it mean to me now? Nothing. But those memories are invaluable.
Well,
so
there's
that's the reference part of it. Things that you can do also is set a budget. Like there's always a bigger cat next door. There's always. Like you think what you got or what that guy got is going to be better than you. Go in it with contentment, right? Gratitude. Gratefulness is the antidote to envy.
Wow.
Count your blessings of what you have, what really matters. And then, of course you want to give a little something to kids, but define it. What is it you're really giving in this? Is it a learning experience? Is it knowledge? Is it a memory? Is it something to better them as a person, the characteristics you want to pass on to them? Yeah, there's probably one gift that they're definitely want to. Okay. But if you can't afford it, there's other ways to do that. Right. So that's this season. Set a budget, communicate it, And then for next year, like we said, it's December 25th.
Mm-hmm.
If you get paid 2 times a month, $50 a month, you get $1,200. You want to spend more? Go right ahead. But you also want to have a process of what you're spending on, right? Because us as consumers in the United States, we're the most marketed to people in the world.
Yeah.
They study human psychology.
Yep.
They know what triggers us. It's missing out, not being part of, and all these things, right?
Yep.
If you go through, like I use the analogy called smart spending. You want to be a smart consumer.
Yep.
S is basically what is my M is motivation.
Mm-hmm.
What's my motivation? My buying is because I'm feeling inadequate, I'm happy, I'm proud, I just got in a fight with the wife. What is it? Why am I really going out and buying this?
Mm-hmm.
A, is it affordable? Is it in my budget? Right? R is realistic. Am I being realistic with the expectations of what this thing is going to bring me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then T, time. What's the time opportunity cost? Mm-hmm. If I buy this now, what is that I don't have the money for later?
That's big. Yeah.
Right. So I want to go on this family vacation, but if I buy this $1,800 whatever treadmill for the house, yeah, I'm not going to be, or retirement, or right. If you stop and just ask yourself 5 questions about that, it's very tough. That's why you need an accountability partner sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You'll actually realize you're making way more purchases than you think, and you don't know why you're making them.
Yeah. Because
it's subconscious, right? Those are some habits and behaviors that help people. Awareness is a big one. Needs versus wants, right? And I always say it's like people trying to fill the God-shaped hole sometimes.
Absolutely.
And it's, that's on them to kind of untie that fisherman's knot. But you can actually sit down and really figure out what it is you want. And the other thing about scarcity versus abundance, right? I can't afford that. Add the word yet. It opens up the possibility and the door to that.
It does. Yep.
Don't exclude yourself from that. If it's really, really important, something you really, really want, you'll figure out a way. And it gives you some hope. And then, okay, what do I have to do? Because if you keep doing the same things and expecting different results, it ain't going to happen. Right?
It's the definition of insanity, right?
That's what I heard.
And one of the things when I think about money, the Bible talks a lot about money. Jesus spoke a lot about money. I think he knew we'd struggle with it.
Yep.
And then also when I see on the pastoral side of things, I'm a pharmacist and a pastor. I do a lot of marriage counseling.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of times that finances are what causes a lot of discord and stress and even divorce among married couples. Why do you think that money is so important in our world today? That's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, my own personal belief about it, I think people see it as a gateway to fulfillment.
Yeah. And
it's funny that you mentioned that you're a pastor, because when I was getting married, I had a good family priest, and he was a Maryknoll priest, and he spent time in Africa, like 35 years. And this was like before it was hip to go to Africa. You know what I mean? It was like he was building schools.
Nobody was signing up. Yeah.
Yeah. That you wouldn't sign up, right? So he learned a lot about it. And we're getting married, and he's like, listen, Connor, he goes, to have a successful marriage, he's like, I can boil down 40 years of being a priest into this, of what success is. He's like, you know about firemen? He said, if you treat your marriage like that of firemen. I said, you have to explain further. What do you mean? He goes, okay. He goes, number one, firemen know people over possessions, right? Take care of the people.
Yep.
Forget about the possessions.
Yep.
He said, also, when they go into scary situations, communication. They know exactly where everybody is at any given moment and what they need, right? And so they can get them out of that situation or know where they are in case of emergency of that. And then he said, also, you can take any fireman anywhere, and they have a special bond. You can take a fireman from Chicago, put them in New York, they bump into firemen in a fireman's place. They have a mutual respect for each other. They got each other's back no matter what. And he said, these are the tenets of a strong relationship. He's like, you just remember firemen. And so you'll have money problems, you'll have health problems, you'll have whatever. You just remember those 3 tenets, and there's a couple others that he added for me personally. But I've always set that with me, right? And there's been times I've had money, times I've not had money.
Mm-hmm.
Do I allow it to define me?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And a lot of little antidotes I've learned. No one cares what kind of car you're driving at a red light. The grass is always greener on the other side.
Mm.
Why? That guy's take care of his lawn.
Right. He's watering it. Right.
He's take care of his lawn, right?
Yeah.
And I point the finger. I got 3-point back into me. I've heard all these things, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
It simplifies the complicated, and it's if you allow money to define you, it will.
Yeah.
And you got to tell your money where to go versus wondering where it went. Because if you don't tell your money where it went, it'll tell you where it went. Right?
Well,
so you got to be proactive and get on top of this. If this is a trouble area in your life.
Right.
And
one of the things I like about you, Connor, is that you do take a lot of the complicated and you make it easy and accessible.
Thank you.
And you have a gift in that. I followed you. I've listened to several of your other recordings, and it's one of the reasons why I was really looking forward to this conversation, because you have a way of just making things easy to understand, and that's what we're after. You know, we don't need a PhD in finance to thrive financially in our lives, and you're helping people do that. One of the things I wanted to focus on too is debt. So you mentioned, you know, you were in debt yourself.
Yep.
Didn't take long, you were out. Maybe other people are struggling with that, and
chances are they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
60-something% of Americans definitely are.
Absolutely. So, you know, what would be kind of some initial steps for somebody who's in debt, wanting to get out of debt, but not really sure where to start?
All right. So this is a big thing. It's going to sound stupid, but understanding what money is. Okay. We understand it's the exchange of goods and services, and it's a currency, and that's not what does it represent? Okay. If I mow your lawn, it takes me 2 hours. You give me $100. That $100 represents 2 hours of work, labor, sweat off of my own brow, and 2 hours of time. During those 2 hours, you, Chad, could go play those guitars, learn a new song. You can spend more time with your family. You could, right? That is what money is, what it represents. You have freedom and choice of what you wanted to do during those 2 hours while I was mowing your lawn for that money.
Yep.
Okay, so it's freedom and choice. You had choice of what you wanted to do and freedom to do it. So once you understand what money is, debt. When you go into debt, you're borrowing money, which is what? Time and work.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we know that, why would I save it? Okay. Because I don't want to work and I want to have time to do what I want to do later on in life.
Right.
That's number one. 2, debt. Why would I borrow it? Not too many reasons. I'm pretty. I would want to have more freedom and choice and time to do what I want to do later. Because sooner or later the Pied Piper has to be paid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm borrowing from my future, which is time and debt, and they also have the interest. So it's actually more work and more time later on.
Sure.
Okay. Understand that for number one. Number 2 is how to get out of it. You got to stop the bleeding, right? So debt is a symptom of a bigger disease, right? It's usually lack of awareness where my money's going, what my cash flow looks like, needs and wants, instant gratification, a whole potpourri of things, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Number 1, they're not alone. The other thing is the method of which you can go about getting out of it. Stop the bleeding, plug the hole in the boat. Don't overspend. Get an idea of where your money's going, where you're at, point A. Rip the Band-Aid off. I know it's scary, right? Got to go into that dark room. Fine.
A lot of times we think ignorance is bliss when it comes to that, right?
I call that the ostrich technique.
That's right.
Right? Put my head in the sand, it'll just go away. It doesn't.
Yep.
So then you have to get an idea of, okay, here's my money coming in, money going out. What do I owe? And then what's the fastest way I want to get out of this?
Okay.
There's 4 methods. Many people know about the snowball method. Snowball is lowest balance to highest balance. You pay off the smallest balance first, and you take the minimum payments. You pay all the minimum payments on all of them except for the smallest.
Yeah. And
then you attack that smallest debt with a vengeance. When I say a vengeance, you make it like the screensaver of your computer. Like it's in your face all day long, and you're just like, okay. Then cut expenses, get as much cash flow as you can, and or increase income. Which one's easier?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Abundance. I can make more money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to really restrict my lifestyle. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to, like, there's necessities and there's wants. We can go into that. But I don't tell people how to spend their money. It's
Sure.
on them. Then you got to spitball ideas, get creative. How can I increase income?
Mm.
The other method is called avalanche, which is highest interest to lowest interest, but typically that's math.
Mm-hmm.
The snowball method is behavioral.
Mm.
You get small wins. I pay off one, high five.
Yep.
Nice. Across the kitchen table, we're doing this. Number two, gone. I take the minimum from number one and I snowball it into number two.
Mm-hmm.
And then the extra cash flow. And then 3 and 4 and 5, and boom, I'm debt free. That's the snowball method. The avalanche is the same method, but it's by the highest interest rate.
Okay.
That's math because it's the interest cost.
Mm-hmm.
Same idea, but typically the highest interest rate is usually the highest balance.
Gotcha.
Typically.
Yeah.
That is discouraging. If
Yes.
I have a huge 36-inch oak tree I got to chop down, it's going to take a long time. And habits and behaviors, if I don't have a good motivation, I'm going to probably stop.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not the business I'm in. I want to motivate people to get this stuff done.
Yeah. It's human nature.
Yep. The other way I call is the cash flow method. Cash flow is basically the payments.
Okay.
Which one has the biggest payment to loosen up the biggest amount of cash flow?
Okay.
Okay. And the last one is emotional. Mm-hmm. I work with some couples that are divorced, unfortunately, and they get the bill. And every time they get the bill, they open it up, they relive all that pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's get that one out of your life first. I don't care about the interest rates, the payments, or whatever. Let's get you emotionally untangled with this.
That's good.
And get that out of your way, right?
Yeah.
So those are the 4 methods most likely. But great, it's a method. What really matters? The action, the habits and behaviors, the motivation, and getting it done. And that's where accountability and follow through comes through.
Yep.
Right? There's times I don't want to go to the gym. I have an accountability partner that knows why I'm going to the gym. It ain't losing 10 pounds. It's a whole bunch of other personal reasons I got intimate with, and I said, okay, this is really what it is. And there's days I don't want to go. You guys get on, hey, are these things still important to you? Is this still a reason why you want? Yes, it is. Go get your running shoes on and your shorts and go to the gym.
Yep.
Same thing with this. It's not you can wander into debt. You're not wandering out. It's habits and behaviors and consistency. And then the confidence and the clarity comes. And then through that exercise, the chances of you reverting back into debt are very slim.
Yeah.
Because you know what it took to get out of it.
Right. Those are very simple and easy to understand ways to get out of debt. And I'll add this: they're simple, but they're not necessarily easy.
Nope, not easy.
Because it goes down to those habits and those actions.
Yeah, the action.
And that's where you come in, really. You teach some of these things in a more detailed way, but then you also provide accountability, right? So can you show us what it looks like to work with you a little bit?
Yeah. So I have a pre-assessment call. I don't take on everybody, right? I got to hear their why. I don't push ropes. So then if they check through that, okay, great. We have a discovery meeting. It's a 2-hour call. This is the only time we really roll up the sleeves and look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. And where the money's going, what's going on, what's the priorities. And then I give them a little bit of the next week we have an accountability meeting because I gave them some homework in that meeting. Did they actually do it? Did they call the human resources department to get their employee benefits? Did they, whatever it is, did they call the cable company to reduce the bill? Right? Then every other week for 3 months. That's it.
Got it.
And then by the end of the 3 months, people have an emergency fund. They've definitely put a huge debt in their debt. They have communication, clarity, confidence. And then I'd say 70% of my clients go on to growth and accountability. Right? And that's where we keep them on track, keep them motivated. Because life is life and things happen. Refrigerator breaks, kids you lose jobs, kids get sick, it happens, right? How do I handle this situation? A New York term here, but I'm like a financial consigliere, right? Like I look over your shoulder and say, listen, this is what I would do, give you advice, guidance, if you will, on how to handle it, right? And it's very rarely has to do with the money itself.
Yeah.
It's how do I approach this? How do I communicate this? Getting real with yourself.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you two more questions. Number one, where can my listeners find you? I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your website, different things like that, social media. And then the second one, I want you to leave everyone with one piece of mindset advice about money.
Okay. So best ways to reach me would be my website, www.progress. You want to make some progress. FC, like financialcoaching.com, progressfc.com. Everybody, all your listeners get a 45-minute consultation free, no cost. Let's just talk.
Awesome.
On that website, there's tools, resources, a whole bunch of free giveaways there. The number one thing I would leave people with, it's a good question. Try something different, meaning this. If you're winging it and just trying to figure it out, building the car, driving down the highway, how about, this is the other reason I work with women mostly. They stop and ask directions.
Yeah.
Right? I'll figure it out is not in the personal finance handbook. I looked it up. Get some help. You're not alone.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing. But the one action I would take is get proactive. Start planning out the future. Don't have the future happen to you. Happen to your future.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're coming into the holiday season. Get out a calendar. Get a budget, like a budget spreadsheet, or you don't have to have a spreadsheet, but like, you know, when when you're getting paid, when you have to do the bills, and what unique things. 80% of your expenses are the same as it was the month before.
Yeah.
And the month before that, what's unique about this month? How much travel's involved? Like, do I have the money? If you don't, okay, great. What do I need to shift around to make this work?
Yeah.
Based upon your priorities, not mine. If it's that important to you, you'll do it. So
yeah,
I would leave people with try something different and see if it works, right?
Yeah.
The habits and behaviors, it's like brushing your teeth. I've been brushing my teeth with my right hand since I learned how to brush teeth. Someone comes along and says, start brushing your teeth with your left hand. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. I want to revert back to my right hand. But if there's a big enough benefit to doing it, changing my habit and behavior, I'm on board. And sooner or later, I can do it either way, right? But I have to stick with it.
I love that. Connor, thanks so much for joining us today. You are doing fantastic work. What I love about you is the ability to communicate complex information in a simple and easy to understand way. You do that on your website too. Your website's a great resource. And then number two is I like how you pull in the entire life. We're not drilling down just into finances, because guess what? You can manage your finances. And that's okay. That's good. That's valuable. But how are your finances managing you? And what you do is you pull in the holistic point of view. You see how finances affects every other part of your life, and you develop a plan specific for that person and in order to help them thrive. And so thanks for doing great things in the finance world. Thanks for being you. And brother, just truly an honor and a privilege to have you here on the show, man.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for giving me this platform to help anybody I could be of service to.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. Take care.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Rev Rx Podcast. We hope you enjoyed what you heard today, and if so, we'd love it if you would hit that subscribe button so that you'll never miss a new episode from us. Also, feel free to leave us reviews and comments, as we'd love to hear from you. Be blessed and be the very best you.